G'day guys and welcome to the Centre Bounce, where today I'll be talking about Sam Flanders, Sexy Flanders. If you know where that's from, kudos to you. And we're talking about Flanders' viability as a Supercoach starting option under the spotlight. Stay tuned. We're going to start with Gold Coast Suns Sam Flanders, who was a very popular starting selection last year. Started off very underwhelmingly. Everyone traded him out, and by the time Supercoach was almost finished in the back half of the year, he suddenly goes on an absolute tear, and everyone was tearing their hair out. Where was this before? God damn it. Well, we're going to go through it, and we're going to explain why he went bananas and why many of us are starting him in our forward lines. If you're on the fence, have a look and see. Here he is. He's played 4 years in the system. Last year was without a doubt the best of his 4 years, almost doubling his output on the previous year, with a lot more in the CBA department as well as in the disposals. Look at that. He's basically averaged about 24 odd disposals a game, as opposed to his previous, where he was at about 12.7. So let's just say 13. He's basically doubled his average disposal count per game. We're back on our favorite website, DFS Australia, having a look at Sam Flanders. This was the start of the year, round 1, 2023. He scored us a 64 playing in the forward pocket, followed by a 46 and a 26. And then he was not seen until round 8 when he came in for a 41. Was not then seen for another 7 weeks until, what the fish happened here? We'll go through them. Don't you worry about it. So we'll start here. Playing forward pocket, that's not what we want to see. We don't want to see forward pocket. Anything that has FP on it is an instant no-no. Very bad, very scary. We don't want forward 50 disposals, because that means that he's playing forward, which means that he's away from the football. We want him around the middle. We want him playing in the guts as much as possible. We want him at stoppages, which is not where he was. 83% time on ground. He had 14% CBA. So he did get some time on the ball. 2 goals to his name, to 64 and 19 disposals. So it makes sense for a lot of people to be a bit optimistic about him. Maybe too much forward, but there's definitely hope for him, you would imagine. Come the second week, he scores a 46 coming off the bench. It's half forward, high half forward. Not too much of the pill, unfortunately. Only 11 disposals, 6 marks, 2 tackles. Didn't hit the scoreboard this week. Only 3% of CBA. So again, not really involved in the play. Not much. Not a very good time on ground. Only 63% for a 46. People will be thinking, oh, that's not what we saw last week. And then when they saw in the third week, absolutely, it was very disappointing for them. Got a free kick. He had 10% of CBAs. Again, coming off the bench, you look at this heat map, it's just all over the place. And really not much to sing home about. So this was a very poor game. Only the 7 disposals. So you're thinking, gee, what's going on? There was a lot of hype about him in the preseason, and then he gets dropped. And why wouldn't he be dropped with that sort of performance? So Stewie Dew just couldn't get the most out of him, to be completely honest. Comes back in round 8. 13 disposals, 7 marks. So, he's getting around, had some decent form in the VFL, got rewarded for it, comes back. 4% of CBAs, only scores 41. And again, it's not that impact, not getting the output that you want, doesn't get seen again until he's finally given the role that he needs, the role that he wants. A lot more consistent. Now, this is what we're talking about. This is a lot higher CBAs. If you're going to put a guy in the guts, at least give him a shot. Give him a genuine crack at it. Don't give him 3% and 10% and 4% CBAs. What is that? If you're not going to give him a proper shot, don't bother at all. And so finally they've decided, you know what, we're going to actually play him properly. We're going to genuinely give him a crack at round 15. And all of a sudden we see a bit of a spike in his CBAs. And if we and we look at his disposals, 27 disposals. Wow, that's a lot higher than what he was doing before. What happened? Where's the change? 100 Supercoach. Let's have a look at that heat map. Again, he's playing high half forward. He's playing half forward, but he's getting a lot of disposals up around the ground. Look, even almost at half back, he's getting disposals. How is this even a thing? So I've got, this was against the Hawks. Was that against the Hawks? Who was that against? That was, yeah, it was against Hawthorn. Where's that tab for it? All right, you know what? Let's just open it up anyway. Let's go here. Gold Coast versus Hawthorn. And let's have a look. Supercoach. Will Day topped the charts over there. Fiorini topped the charts for Gold Coast. It's pretty crazy. Ainsworth 127. Flanders 100. Look at that. He did very well. Cracked the ton, as did a few of his other players. What was the final result? It was a smashing in Gold Coast's favour. But part of the reason of what makes Sam Flanders is if we go to the player stats, we go to the stats in that game. All right, now he's playing high half forward, and he's getting a lot of the peel. And we saw on the heat map, he was getting the ball on like the other side of the ground as well. How is that possible? It's because he's being given the green light. Might not necessarily be all about centre bounce attendances, but he's still having rotations in the midfield, attending various stoppages around the ground. And how can we tell if he's doing that or not? Well, if we go to the statistics, and I want to filter, so only the Suns, again, you can manage the type of statistics you want to see on the AFL website by coming here and then all these extra things that you can filter by, that you want to have a good idea about. You want to see how it looks like. I've gone and I've added contested possessions, stoppage clearances, and clearances. I want them side by side because I want to see how he's getting all these points and these disposals on the other side of the ground. Contested possessions. He was second in contested possessions for the Gold Coast Suns. What does that say? With 2 stoppage clearances and 5 clearances in general. But he's got 13 contested. He's got more contested possessions than Matt Rao and Noah Anderson. Really? How is that even possible? Even though he only had, where was that game against the Hawks? 43% CBAs. Let's have a look and compare his CBAs to Rao and Anderson's centre bounces. Were they comparable? Let's have a look. Go to Gold Coast, scroll down. Against the Hawks, Rao, 91%. Anderson, 48%. Flanders, 43%. So very similar between Flanders and Anderson, but Rao had 91% CBAs, and he still had less contested possessions than Flanders. And that is part of Flanders' skill set. The contested possessions with a decent disposal efficiency, not the best, but he had 3 clangers to his name, so he definitely could have done better. With 3 clangers, he could have done better than 100. You know what I mean? So that's already 12 points that he's given up, at least based on the clanger front. And so that's really exciting, really impressive. He's finally been given a shot. He's not playing in that forward 50. All right, let's have a look at the next game then. So that was that. Now we come to the game against Collingwood. That was a brutal game. They were absolutely destroyed by Collingwood. And yet he still scored 119, and we only had 19% CBAs. How did he do that? 27 disposals. Again, similar to last week, 27 disposals at 70% efficiency, 4 tackles. That's pretty darn good. All right, round 16. How does he compare? 88% for Rao, massive. 88% for Anderson, massive. There was no Tukamilla in the picture yet. He was still coming off. He's still injured. Flanders only 19. All right, let's have a look. What happened? Let's go to the Collingwood game. where they got smashed. Let's have a look at the contested possessions. Rowell 17, Flanders 14, Anderson 11. 2 stoppage clearances, 4 clearances in general for Flanders. So he's getting some clearances. He's getting a lot of contested possessions. So he's in the guts. He's not necessarily in the guts with centre bounces, because we only saw he had a very few centre bounces. He only had where was it? He only had 19% compared to the others. But that doesn't mean that he's not in the guts with the stoppages. Let's have a look at the heat map at this game against Collingwood. Where was his disposals? Look at that. Look at that. That is a far cry from the heat map that we saw in the beginning of the season, where he was mostly red in the forward 50. He's mostly red at halfback, in the back 50 back pocket almost. He's playing all over the ground. This is not someone who's playing forward mid anymore. This is someone who's been given almost rover duties to use his strengths at being able to win some contested footy. That's sensational. Let's have a look at the next game. What happened? He scored a 96 against Port. He had 24 disposals. So he had less disposals, less efficiency. So 2 frees against. So those are clangers. So that I can understand that he was under 100 with his scoring. He gave up a lot of points. He should have been on a lot more. 43% CBA. So he's had a bit of a bump in the CBAs. And that happens to coincide with the return of Tuke Miller, who had 17%. Anderson had a little shave off. Rao had a little shave off. Swallow got a little shave off. So big jumpers were Tuke Miller and Flanders in the CBA department. So just because Tuke Miller came back doesn't mean that Sam Flanders was automatically relegated back into the forward line. By the looks of things, we did see a little bit of a jump in terms of the time that he spent in the forward 50. He's got a few more disposals there. Well, that sort of makes sense because they've now added a gun superstar midfielder and Tuke Miller into the side as well. So you've now got an extra player that has to go through the midfield, an extra rotation. Better to maybe rest in the forward line as opposed to spending more time in there. However, you can still see that the lion's share of his disposals were between the arcs, not necessarily stuck in the forward line. And this is the high half forward role, high half forward, almost rover role that we've seen now come into Flanders' game, because he has the capacity to run out the game and to play that, has that strength to get some contested possessions. Let's have a look at his contested possessions from this game against Port Adelaide. So Port won by very comfortably, almost 6 goals, 5.5 goals. Let's have a look at the contested possession. Noah Anderson led the way 17, Ralph 15, Flanders 13. He actually had one more clearance in general than Anderson. He had the same number of stoppage clearances as Rao, and he beat Anderson for stoppage clearances. So you sort of starting to see from this new role that he's been given compared to in the beginning of the year, this role that Flanders has got is being used in a contested fashion, in a stoppage clearance sort of fashion, in a helping Rao and Anderson get the ball moving forward. That's really impressive that he's giving us numbers comparable to them. 96 points. We get to St Kilda, 125. That's a massive score. 50% CBA. So Tuke Miller's in the side, and he's still got 50% of CBAs. Behind, got a free kick. He's got 33 disposals, if you don't mind. So that is sensational. What happened in round 18? What was the split in round 18? Rao still had the lion's share. He's had his CBA shaved. Anderson had his CBA shaved. Tuke Miller got a jump, and Flanders got a bit of a jump. So they were able to have the rotations work in a way where each of these players are pinch hitting in the midfield. The Suns won this game at home. That was a bad loss for St Kilda. The Suns played really well. They wanted it. And we look at the contested possessions. Flanders led the way. and he had 5 clearances to his name, one more than Matt Rowell. And you would think that this is Matt Rowell's bread and butter, contested possessions and clearances. Well, guess what? Flanders beat him in both. Flanders beat him in both with 27% less CBAs. So this is a really fascinating role that Flanders is playing over there for the Gold Coast Suns, using his strengths to really get the ball all over the place wherever there's a stoppage. This is more than a high half forward role. This is I'm telling you, this is like a rover. And it is incredible to see just how stark of a difference we had. And this sort of carries on throughout the rest of the season. I mean, when you compare that, the Giants smashed them in round 19. What happened in round 19? He still scores 113. Despite them getting smashed, he had 69% CBAs. 69. Very nice. 113 Supercoach. What was his contested possession rate like? Round 11, Flanders with 10. 9 clearances. 6 stoppage clearances. So again, more of what we've seen before. What happened in the next game? Only an 85. All right, so that's a marked drop. A marked drop in scoring between these 2 weeks. What happened against Brisbane? 32 disposals. That's very good. 72%, so better than the week before. 7 marks, better than the week before. 1 less free for, 1 free against. Okay, that's a clanger. He got obviously substantially less CBAs compared to the week before, but he's shown that he doesn't need a lot of CBAs to get high points. What happened in this game? Let's have a look at that heat map against Brisbane. Mostly in the middle, a lot of wing action as well, but it's mostly between the arcs. But it almost seems more wing, and we don't like wings. Wings mean that your scoring is a bit inconsistent. So let's have a look at the scoring. Who scored what in that game? So only one player tonned for Brisbane in what was a surprising result for Gold Coast when they got a massive dub over Brisbane. Only one Brisbane Lion tonned up. 2, 3, 4, 5, multiple. That's the thing. When you have so many players absolutely tearing it up, there's only so many points that can go around. There is a limit to how many points every Supercoach game there is. There are 3,300 points that can be dished out per Supercoach game. And when one side is being completely dominating the other side, there's only so many points that can go around. I mean, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 7 players tonned up in this game. And David Swallow almost tonned up as well. So you've got I can sort of forgive Flanders for scoring an 85, but you look at the fantasy, 103 in the fantasy department. He was 3rd highest for his team, and you compare that to, again, that slightly would have been about under Ryan Lester, but still, he was the 3rd highest fantasy scorer. So that would suggest to me that there were some clangers in this game that Flanders had that sort of made him turn over, I suppose, and lower his scoring. But let's have a look at his contested possessions. Where is he? Oh, he's all the way down here. 8 contested possessions. So there you go. He will pop off with massive scores if he's up here, if he's in the top rung of contested possessions. Only had the 8. 5 stoppage clearances, 5 clearances in total. So they were the 5 stoppage clearances for his name with 8 contested possessions. Still a very solid output, 32 disposals. But I can understand why he's not in that top, that upper echelon of scorers that week. Who were in the top echelon that week? We've got, all right, I'm going to close that ad. Sorry about that. We've got Supercoach. You got Wits, would have a lot of headouts to advantage. Brandon Ellis with a 124, Anderson 118, and Rowell 109. So yeah, Anderson and Rowell with Ellis. Okay, so Rowell, Anderson, and Ellis. So they all were slightly better than him. Ellis had considerably better disposal efficiency, which absolutely helps in the grand scheme of things. So I can understand that game. I can forgive Flanders for that game. Don't worry about it. We'll go to the next game then. Let's have a look, and we see that he goes to a 91. So again, not sensational, not the best. 42% CBAs, 27 disposals, 67% disposal efficiency. And that's the thing, 67. It's the low disposal efficiency, I think, that's hurting him more than anything. Let's have a look at his heat map. Again, between the arcs, a little bit inside 50, but look at that. It's between the arcs for the most part. This ain't forward pocket like he was playing at the start, which is really good. That's the most important thing. It's not necessarily about the individual games. That's that, he's human. He's a human being, as is every player. Every player is prone to maybe having a bit of a lull, but the most important thing is the role. As long as the role is there, that's what you can count on. They lost this game to the Crows. How did they do? Flanders was the third best scorer for his team. I can forgive him. I can forgive him. I can forgive him for that. He was the third best for his team. It was just a bad day for the Suns. What happened there against the Swans? Wait, how did he do as well? How did he look like in the contested possessions? 12. There you go. He was back up there again. 12 contested, 3 stoppage clearances, second only to contested possessions, second only to Rao. Again, so he's doing it. He's doing his job. He's doing his job. He's getting that role, that positive role. Against the Swans, what happened? 81. Not sensational. 23 disposals. That's down. That's down on his usual output. And 65% efficiency. Not great. 52% CBA. So again, that's a jump in CBAs. What happened that week? In round 22. It was Rao, lion share. Anderson had his shaved by quite a bit. Tuke Miller was back. He missed 21. So Tuke Miller had a massive jump. Swallow got his taken away, and Flanders got a little bit of a boost. Okay. So it's a different looking midfield in round 22. So look at the stats. Matt Rao 18, Tuke Miller 9, Anderson. Where is he? Where is he? Flanders all the way down here. It's only 1 stoppage clearance, 6 contested possessions, a 65% efficiency. That is not what you want to see. Clangers, 3 clangers as well. That's not, that's just self-sabotage at this point. So not a great game for him. Wasn't involved as much as he otherwise would be. 23 disposals, of which 3 of them were clangers, which is not great. So how did that game go? How did his teammates do? Let's have a look. Can I forgive him or not? All right, so it's a comfortable win for the Suns. Matt Rao led the way, followed by Ellis, Anderson, Roses, Swallow, Tuke Miller, 82, but he's coming off of injury, so you can forgive Tuke for that low score. Flanders, 81. You know what? I'm going to be a bit critical of him in this game. Must have been a bad game for him. Compared to the other mids. Where were they playing this? SCG, smaller ground. Might be a bit harder to find space, but the thing is, he's not a space player. He's a player that is meant to be getting contested possessions, right? So for him, he doesn't mind the close confines of games. So I would put this to being a bad game. Just a bad game for him. Down by his standards. But you look here, I mean, the defenders did really well for Sydney in that game, and they scored the most points. He shows that he was a mid, mostly in the center bounces, around the ground, middle of the ground. It almost looks symmetrical, almost looks beautiful, like a butterfly almost. So, look, that was just a bad game. The role was there, but he just didn't perform. We're going to get to Carlton's game, 130. He goes bananas. 21% CBAs. Again, look at that. He's got less than half the CBAs of the week before for a 130. 36 disposals. There you go. At 78%. That's a bit better. That's how you're supposed to dispose of the footy, mate. Not on this 60% nonsense. Oh, mostly on a wing. But again, he's following the ball wherever it goes. It's not. It just so happened that the ball was on this side by the looks of things. what happened in that game? It was round 23 against Carlton. Oh, we can close that one, I'm pretty sure. What was this game? This game was the Sydney game. We can close that. Carlton, the Blues just narrowly got over the line. Let's have a look at contested possessions. Flanders, there he is, 11, same with Collins and Ainsworth, but he's up there. Anderson with Rao, both on 14 apiece. He matched Anderson for clearance, for centre stoppage clearance, which is good. Again, it's about the role, and it seems that he's got the role. And he's maintaining it even with Tuke Miller in the side. This is a full Gold Coast midfield, but he's maintaining. Yes, he's getting. Obviously, there's fluctuations in his CPA count, as you can see. But it's not the CBAs that matter for him. It's the stoppages. It's the ability to roam up the ground and to be involved in the play. He's not being stuck in the forward line. And then in the last game of the season against North Melbourne, it's very hard not to go big against North. Sorry, Big J. 121. He had 2 goals, a free, 29 disposals. It's a great feel-good way to end the season against North Melbourne. Again, look at that. Disposals all over the ground with a couple of goals, which is very good. They actually lost that game, if I recall. Yeah, they did. They lost that game, and he still did really well. Contested possessions, what happened? Rao, what the fish is that? That's insane, Matt Rao. Bloody hell. Davies, Flanders, 10. There you go. Top 3 for contested possessions, 12 marks, which is really good. He's got some intercept possessions and tackles. 29 disposals. So yeah, that is awesome. That is great to see for Flanders. And this is the sort of role that he now is playing. He's not playing that forward pocket role. He's not playing he's nowhere near that anymore. He's now around the ball, up the ground. Yes, he might have the occasional not so great game, but if 81 is his floor as a forward for us, then that is sensational. If we take these last 10 games of the season where he had this new role, he is averaging 106, and that is absolutely top 6 forward status for us. If not F2 or F1, depending on how McRae goes. Video on McRae coming up. So he's played this role now for 10 games. We've now got a new coach in Dimma Hardwick. Dimma Hardwick wants to play a fun, exciting game. They've been interviewing Flanders. He's working with that midfield group still, which is awesome. As he said, he came in the top 5 in the time trial, which is awesome as well. So all things seem to indicate that we're going to see more of the same. They've recruited and drafted some incredible forwards. So I don't see a reason why we're going to see Flanders back into this terrible forward pocket sort of role. I think we're going to see more of the same of what we've seen the last 10 weeks, which is really exciting, and which means that really Flanders should be in just about everybody's team, I think, in their forward lines. It's just a massive shame that he's got that bye very early on. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, is my discussion of Sam Flanders being put under the spotlight. Let me know down below what you thought of it. If you like what I had to say, please drop us a like. Would be greatly appreciated, as well as a subscription if you're new. We're looking to grow the channel and be growing it by pumping out all this content about relevant players here in this Supercoach season, pre-season in this case, to try and help you guys make the best possible teams that you can make, and so that one of us can hopefully win the $50,000 and Supercoach in 2024. And also let me know, guys, in the comments down below, any other players you would like me to do a spotlight profile on. Definitely happy to take any and all suggestions, depending on how relevant I think that they might be. And with that, guys, thank you so much for watching. See you all in the next one. Bye for now.